I told y'all, like, we was gonna, like, after the blockbuster trade between the Chicago Bears and the Carolina Panthers, we were going to monitor and see what the Chicago Bears were going to do via free agency. And like, I know we like a week late. Well, we're a week late. We gave them a fair opportunity to see what they was going to do. Just to go over it again, the Chicago Bears ended up receiving 2 first-round picks, the 9th overall pick in the 2023 draft, along with 2 second-round picks, and also acquiring wide receiver DJ Moore from the Carolina Panthers for just the 1st overall pick in the 2023 NFL draft. Now, I want to go over some of these key acquisitions for the Chicago Bears, which personally I love this Deontay Foreman pickup. Played all 17 games with the Carolina Panthers last year. Rushed for 914 yards last year, 5 touchdowns. Helped turn around the Carolina Panthers rushing attack last year. Went from 27th to 6th after the head coaching change from Matt Rule to Steve Wilkes. Went from 89.8 yards a game to 6, which was 144.6 yards a carry. Most notable games with a 165-yard game versus the Detroit Lions and the 118-yard game versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where I believe he averaged over like 6 yards a carry, something like that. And then, of course, if I want to take it a step further, him 2 years ago taking over for Derrick Henry in his time of injury, which, by the way, I feel like the Tennessee Titans in that playoff game against the Baltimore Ravens, if they would have ran Deontay Foreman a little bit more during the game, I feel like they would have won that football game, but they were too busy trying to get Derrick Henry going. But anyway, the game against the Miami Dolphins like showed right there that he could possibly be a starter in this league, and I like this pickup for the Chicago Bears, considering the fact we let David Montgomery go in free agency. We need to get somebody young and durable in there that can pair with a Khalil Herbert, and so I like the pickup of a Deontay Foreman. They got Robert Tonyan in free agency too as well from their NFC North rival Green Bay Packers. Robert Tonyan, he's got a connection with the Bears offensive coordinator Luke Getsy. He was the passing game coordinator for the Green Bay Packers in 2020. Robert Tonyan in 2020 had 52 catches, 586 yards, and 11 touchdowns. Now, 2021, Tonyan tore his ACL and came back this past year, had 53 catches and 473 yards. I like this pickup for the Chicago Bears. Personally, it puts them in situations where they can come out with 2 tight end sets. Like, let's not forget Cole Kmet. He's on the rise as a tight end. If we can get Tonyan somewhat similar to what he was looking like in 2020, like they can have 2 dangerous tight ends where they can come out in a 2 tight end set, and then Justin Fields can go out and do his thing where he's probably one of the best running quarterbacks in football. It's probably neck and neck right now with Lamar Jackson, but those 2 right there, they're very, 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 very dynamic and explosive, electrifying when they have the football in their hand in the open field. So they can come out of 2 tight end sets, a 22 personnel set, and you can cause a lot of mismatches where you can allow Justin Fields to get out of the open field and run the football, or Robert Tonyan, his receiving ability along with Cole Kmet's receiving ability, where they can cause mismatch because you can't put a linebacker on them. A defensive back is too small. Safeties, they're getting better at cut pass coverage, but it's a rarity. So like they can come out and do a whole bunch of different things with Robert Tonyan if he can produce the same that he did in the 2020 season. And let's not forget about the receiver that they got, Chase Claypool last year, them adding to DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, taking some pressure off of Darnell Mooney. So you're looking at the Chicago Bears offensive room right now as far as weapons. Like they're looking fairly viable. So I like the pickup. Andrew Billings, I feel like that was a very, very it was a budget move, honestly, with them signing him a free agency from the Las Vegas Raiders. Pretty durable defensive tackle. The Chicago Bears definitely need some help in the rush defense area. They was 31st last year at giving up over 157 yards a game last year. I feel like Andre Billings could come in low risk, high reward type of player. DeMarcus Walker, a defensive end. He signed a 3-year, $21 million contract, $16 million guaranteed. Very, very versatile at the defensive end position. Last year, the Chicago Bears didn't have a defensive lineman that had over 3 sacks last year. So anybody they bring in at this point, I feel like they could help out a lot. But in 2022, DeMarcus Walker had 7 sacks, 16 quarterback kicks, 32 tackles. So I like the pickup. Like I said, very, very versatile on the defensive line. Could play almost any position on the defensive line. Next up, we have the Tremaine Edmonds pickup, the linebacker from the Buffalo Bills. It's a 4-year, $72 million contract, $50 million guaranteed. Now, I like Tremaine Edmonds. I really wanted the Miami Dolphins to pick him up. A true old school middle linebacker, over 250 pounds, but it's very, very smooth, sideline to sideline. And I strongly believe that the Chicago Bears, they paid him out of what he could possibly be, considering how he's young. He's only 24 years old, to play 5 years already in the league. So, and 5 straight years of over 100 tackles. Like, his trajectory is going up right now for Tremaine Edmonds. So that puts him in the conversation with a Roquan Smith, a Shaquille Leonard, and a CJ Moses being one of the best middle linebackers in football. When you look at a Tremaine Edmonds, which, again, going back to the Chicago Bears definitely need help in that rush defense category, being 31st in the league. So defensively, if you stop the run, your defense is going to improve drastically. You look at the offensive line, which I strongly believe that they should have went hard in free agency, which I will get to in a second. You look at TJ Edwards, who they added to us from the Philadelphia Eagles, which I feel like that was a very, very underrated pickup, honestly, because he was hidden in a very, very talented Philadelphia Eagles defense where you had a lot of key names: Hassan Reddick, Robert Quinn. You had Josh Sweat. You had a whole bunch of guys on that defense that were just phenomenal. Not to mention they had 3 or 4 guys that held over 10 sacks. Like, the Philadelphia Eagles defense, they had a lot of guys on there where I felt like TJ Edwards was very, very underrated, who signed a 3-year, $19 million contract, $12 million guaranteed for the Chicago Bears, had 159 tackles for the Philadelphia Eagles, which, again, will help the Chicago Bears defense a lot with that rush defense especially. But I want to get back to this offensive line situation where they also signed Nate Davis from the Tennessee Titans offensive line, who last year, who for the Tennessee Titans, Nate Davis. Let's take this from the top. I'm sorry. They're getting Nate Davis off a potential thing. A couple years back, Derrick Henry rushed for over 2,000 yards. This could help the Chicago Bears with their rushing attack, considering how they was first last year in rushing. Where he's going to play, the possibility that he can end up playing at the left guard position. The Chicago Bears, they like Tevin Jenkins after he made the transition from tackle to guard. So Nate Davis is a low risk, high reward pickup. I like that pickup. But this is where I'm getting at, where I'm very, very disappointed in the Chicago Bears, where you're in a situation where you give up 55 sacks. You give up 55 sacks, and you should have been one of the first teams on the phone, if not on their wish list, trying to get a hold of one of these top tackles in free agency. Like, we could talk about the Kansas City Chiefs thing where Orlando Brown didn't end up getting the contract extension with the Kansas City Chiefs, where I believe it was going to be like making them the highest paid tackle in football. They ended up walking to the Cincinnati Bengals for 4 years, $64 million, which you should have ended up pulling the trigger on that. And then before that, it was the Juwan Taylor thing where the Kansas City Chiefs was like, okay, Orlando Brown, we're going to let you walk. We're going to go ahead and take Juwan Taylor from the Jacksonville Jaguars, 4-year, $80 million contract, which was very, very reasonable, for being honest, because I like the trajectory Juwan Taylor was moving up as far as being one of the best tackles in football. Only gave up 5 sacks, gave up 15 hurries last year.